Hello everybody, my name's James, and for the benefit of those listening to the audio, you're listening to Ask James, my regular YouTube live stream where I welcome questions from the YouTube community on anything football related. And it feels like a timestamp right now is particularly important. It is precisely 11:34 a.m. on Friday the 15th of December, which means we are just about under 7 hours away from the game week 17 deadline. And to cover the obvious to start with, bits that we already know is what we don't know. Erling Haaland, no update as yet. Pep Guardiola's press conference is scheduled for 12:30 p.m. I would suggest he's probably not going to give us anything conclusive. Maybe he will, but I wouldn't expect it. I'd expect similar to what Eddie Howe gave us this morning on Anthony Gordon, which is, well, he's a quick recoverer. You know, we need to check him. We need to assess him. He'll probably be fine, but I would suggest that he may not be 100%. As it's a Friday deadline, I'm conscious of the time turnaround. I'm going to keep this stream today down to 45 minutes. So I'll cover all the questions that I can up to 12:20 p.m. I will cover them in order of submission, and if there's anything that's repeat similar, I will try and skip it. Let's go to JP, who's first. Says, hi mate, how's it going? Fine. I will apologise in advance if there's a bit of coughing during this. Those who listen to Monday's pod will probably have heard me coughing towards the end, and I can't shake it at the moment. I feel fine, but I just can't shake this cough, to be honest. JP says, who would you buy for Haaland if you have Solanke and Watkins already? So it depends. You want to flip that and go straight back in 19? I think there's a couple of options there. I think Darwin Núñez, yes, it would be one. Julian Alvarez, in terms of if you just want this week and you got good cover for next week, is an obvious answer there. I think Alexander Isak will probably start for Newcastle tomorrow, but it's possibly limited minutes. It might even be on the left if Gordon's unavailable. I don't think you know about forthcoming weeks. If you want to come right down in price, obviously Antoine Semenyo is the right cheap enabler. 3 good fixtures. Be cautious, obviously, that it will go to AFCON from game week 21 onwards, but I think you just moved that to something else. If you want to go a bit above that, and you're not bothered about this week and more bothered about next week, the recommendation would probably be Raul Jimenez at 5.3. So I think it's a little bit dependent in terms of what your requirements are over the next couple of weeks. If it were me, it'd probably be Alvarez. If I knew Haaland was out in that set, I would just go Alvarez for this week, yeah. Ola Stammer says, morning James, draft question, should I sell Bumo? Yeah, I'd say so. Depends, I guess. If it's season long, there's maybe a case, but you might be without Bumo for as long as sort of game week 25 or so. It's got to be doubtful whether he plays before AFCON, then he goes. I mean, that's 9 game weeks or so. It would be a sell for me. Bets1604 says, hi James, should I play it safe and use my 1 free transfer to swap Haaland for Solanke, or take a -4 to move both Taylor for Porro and Archer to Jimenez? Rest of the team is pretty template with Watkins, etc. Cheers. So, I don't even want to take a -4 for Jimenez. Taylor's obviously suspended. Archer doesn't have a great fixture. You want to take a -4 for Jimenez away to Newcastle? I mean, probably to make that worthwhile, he's probably got returned twice. And you'd say that's unlikely. So can you just come back for that next week, maybe? Not a -4, I don't think. It was 2 threes, like, no problem with it. I'd be repeating myself on Pedro Porro, and I don't need to. It's basically first name on my wild card. JP says, what's your plan on Sky Fantasy with Asian and African Cups for Salah, Son, etc.? I just answered that real quickly because we had a bit of a discussion about it on Wednesday's podcast with the brilliant Ian Parrin. So I think Ian summed it up very well. Leave the money to be able to get them back quite easily. That's it. Neil Thompson says, morning, love listening to your wildcard team discussions. Team news is going to be massive this week. Would you sell Haaland, but do you think Gordon will start? Good luck tonight. Yeah, Gordon probably does start, but I think we'd have to say he's not 100%. I think Eddie Howe's words on Wednesday night after the game that Gordon felt like he couldn't sprint off properly would be a little bit concerning. And I don't think it would come a huge shock if he's not in the team. So probably as Newcastle ain't got many other options, right? Harvey Barnes reportedly had a setback, not going to be available to the new year. So over forthcoming weeks, that makes Gordon a little bit more secure as well, it's worth saying. I think I'm at the stage where the flag is enough for me to say, no, he's not going in on the wild card for me. I think, yes, he probably does start. Would I want to sell him? No. Would I buy him? No. That would probably be my summary. So it's don't buy, don't sell, and start probably. I think that's probably your solution. On Haaland, like, I don't know, like everyone wants to be medical experts this week, but I haven't got Scooby-Doo, mate, what the situation is. Does seem like there's been some good investigative work, and he was probably in Spain somewhere yesterday, but arrived back last night. Like I said, I think Pep probably won't give us anything at 12:30. They'll assess him in training this afternoon, and we'll see. And then maybe we might get some information before deadline. I think we're all guessing, aren't we? I think it's a risky sell, personally, for people doing it. For me, I'm going to set up wild card with him not in it, but I have plan B sorted in my mind for if I get information that he's available. And the one thing I kept saying is, despite all the information that's going around, if I see a picture of him today where he's smiling and training, that's probably enough for me. Because if he's fit, he plays Premier League games. Like we know that. So is there a case to say he could only play 45 minutes or might be used as a sub? Yeah, sure. I asked Suj this morning, I said, what would you rather have? If I said to him, would you rather have 45 minutes of Haaland or 90 minutes of Alvarez? It's like 45 minutes of Haaland. I was like, yeah, me too. So there's a case to say, for me, in my case, just stick him in, make sure you got decent coverage, and then just carry him through for the next couple of weeks, and it saves the arsehole of having to try him back. But I think my instinct would be at this minute in time that he probably doesn't play. That's my instinct, but I've got no intel on that at all. JP says best Sky cap on Saturday if no Haaland. Well, ironically, it's the other person I just mentioned for me. It would be Julian Alvarez. George Picablau, sorry if I mispronounced that, mate, says, hi James, other than Solanke and Watkins, who do you think is the best replacement for Haaland? Alvarez, Jesus question. I'm going to skip that, mate, because the first question I answered was kind of very similar to that, and I gave a little summary. Jesus wouldn't be on radar for me. Not this week. You're going to Liverpool next week. Tom Knapp says, hi James, hope you and the family are well, mate. If Sanchez is out, worth a -4 to a playing keeper. Yeah, if he's ruled out for a while, not if he's a doubtful or might be back next week. If it's one of them where it's like, well, it would be a -4 next week and the week after, then sure, get it. But if you're in a position where you've got Sanchez, I don't know, you probably want to keep that, don't you? Fixtures are so good for a long term, and I realise they've been shit, but there's probably not anything to be concerned about till game week 25, other than Liverpool away in 22. So I don't think you want to sell him unless you've got the information. If it means, like I said, it would be a -4 next week, etc., and he's definitely ruled out for a significant period, then sure, sell him. Otherwise, probably a no, mate. You could look at the upside of it, but I think, like, if Sanchez had a chance of being back next week and you knew that now for 1 week, nah. Connexon says, good morning, sir. I trust you well. Ever take a moment to reflect and be surprised by what you've been part of, FPL or not? Yeah, interesting question. Yeah, I guess so. I don't kind of probably give myself enough time for deep thinking and reflection, to be honest. But yeah, I never thought I say it all the time, right? I'm very lucky to be doing what I do. And yeah, I've reflected on that part of it quite a bit and remind myself, you haven't had a bad day. You think, like, you're lucky what you're doing, James. And I'm well aware of that and remind myself of that. So yeah, I'm proud of what we've built. I'm very proud of the Patreon community that we've built. Proud of what we do in terms of our work, etc. It's not for everyone, but you guys are here, so you probably do appreciate it. So yeah, I guess if I didn't enjoy it, I wasn't proud of it, probably wouldn't do it, I suppose. So yeah, nice question, thank you. JP says, keep the cells on Sky, or who should I move on to? They look too leggy. It's keep at the moment, JP. Listen, all these Sky questions, move this, move that, move this, move that. Quite often, mate, the answer is to do absolutely nothing, mate. And to be honest, if you've got someone like Jamel Lascelles, yeah, sure, they look leggy. The next 3 fixtures are really good. There isn't really a reason in Sky Fantasy to move that until the threat appears. And it might be that Dan Burn does become a threat. But it's not a threat this week. It's definitely not a threat this week. Next week when Trips is back, it might, because Dan Burn might partner Fabian Schär at centre-back, and Schär moves to his more natural right-sided centre-back position. Livramento stays left-back, or of course Burn could come in for Livramento, and that's why on wildcard for me, Lascelles and Livramento are probably no's now. Despite them both offering excellent value, I know I'm walking into a problem next week, and I don't have the information right now to know which way that's likely to be in terms of Burn. The obvious to think is, Burn comes in for Livramento maybe. I'm not certain of that, actually. Thomas McLeod says, I've never played Sky but have been listening to the pod this year. Why are some managers so secretive about how many transfers they have used and who's in their team? Is it because of the money? Sky's a very template game. I know people think FPL is template. Sky is even more template, and it needs to be. And therefore your gains are on a small number of players. Look, for me, I don't have a problem with being out there and saying, look, this is what my team is. Like, if someone wants to copy me, then there's plenty of better people they can be copying. But I think for people who've got good historical records, like, Ian and Luke Williams, he said when he came on the other week, like, there will definitely be people out there copying. Now, I have known people, like, copy my team in Sky as well, which is fine because they ain't winning it either, right? My outlook on it is always as well, like, you can look at my team on the podcast on a Wednesday, but if something goes wrong on a Saturday, you're not going to know what I'm going to do on a Sunday, for example. So I'm always happy from that perspective, put it out there. I always tell the patrons what transfer I'm out on a Sunday. If they want to copy, fine, good luck to them. Whatever, maybe right at the end I wouldn't be so open about that, but I'd be honest and say, look guys, going to be honest here, I think someone in here might be copying me. I'm going to make a change on the weekend, and I'm going to keep that to myself. And no one's going to criticise me for it because I'll be open and honest about it. So I get it. I absolutely get it why some keep it to themselves. It's part of the deal. Remember as well, right, in FPL, you can't hide your team. Now, maybe if you could hide your team, maybe people would be a lot more secretive about it as well. Anish Patil says, hey James, would you start Shimicast or Lascelles this week? Good luck, Shimicast for me, mate. I've been saying this all week, and Wednesday night didn't change my mind. And for those who watch Deadline stream later, we'll see it. I actually think Fulham will go there and win tomorrow, which I know will be contrary to what most people would believe. I don't think any of us think Manchester United are going to go to Liverpool and win. Shimicast is a more offensive threat than Lascelles. For me, it's a fairly straightforward one. You also don't have to worry if you're a non-Trippier owner, obviously, because his suspension. You don't have to worry about effective ownership of Newcastle defensive assets this week. So, be Liverpool for me. Shimicast rather, sorry. JP says, is Rice better than Rodri on Sky for the foreseeable future? Well, there's an extra fixture in there, but it's a kind of a neither here nor there. Like, if you're thinking of going Rodri to Rice on Sunday, like, again, I'm not sure if I'd bother, mate, unless it's giving you definitive captaincy coverage. Miles Thompson says, I'm taking Lo Celso out. Don't ask how I end up there. I know it's understandable why you ended up there, Miles. I get it. For Richarlison. If Haaland is confirmed out, would you take a -4 for Solanke? Benches Gordon, Lamptey, Archer. Thanks. -4 for Solanke. If you definitively knew that Haaland was out, yeah, I'd do it. Because in theory, you just got 2 games of Solanke and it pays itself back on appearance points. So it would have to be a yes. Eddie says, morning, mate. Come you Spurs. Are you going tonight? No, unfortunately not. I'm working. I'm considering taking out Brennan for Richie. What do you think? Like owning Johnson, but think Richie could well be better pick. Thanks, mate. I'd leave that be. There's the obvious narrative tonight of Johnson returning to Forest as well, right? These things are sometimes written in the stars. So, yeah, get it. I probably wouldn't change that at the moment, though. I'd stick as you are, I think, Eddie. Richarlison can frustrate, and he might be coming with me, by the way. But he can frustrate, we know that. I probably wouldn't bother moving that. Vish says, is Garnacho to Son and Haaland to Solanke worth a -4? Well, again, yes. I mean, if Haaland's ruled out, then yes, definitively. It's very hard to say at this stage, right? Because, let's be honest and reflect on this. If we all knew now that Haaland would start, for me, I'd captain him tomorrow. I'd captain him over Salah if I absolutely knew he was going to start. Because I actually think probably City beat Palace better than Liverpool beat United, although I think it could both be very comfortable victories for both. So if I knew Haaland was going to play, I mean, like, it's It's like, how can I advise to kind of take a hit, sell him out now when I'm saying, oh yeah, actually, I think if he plays, he's the best captain. We need some information, don't we? Look, I think if we don't get it, my suspicion would be that he probably doesn't play. But I also, in the case of your question, Vish, and I spoke about this on Monday, and I recommend kind of listening back to it, and I know Sonny got good returns, and I said, like, on the left, that's a problem. Trippier had a nightmare, and his goal obviously comes from when he's moved back into the centre-forward position. Now, when he moves back into the centre-forward position, even late in games, that in itself kind of makes him enough to keep. But I also did say, I'm not sure I'd dive into buy him at this minute, would be my take. And he's probably going to be my vice-captain this week, right? So I know it might sound a bit contradictory. But rather than diving in, I don't know, can you get a bit more information and look at someone who's perhaps a bit cheap and good this week and take another game of Son and seek a bit more information? I think Son probably plays off the left again tonight because I just don't think he'll want to move Richarlison after last week. But it might be that flips again against Everton, then Son's obviously, for fantasy, is going to be a better option if he's through the middle, in my opinion. So it's a conflicting one. I realise it's kind of a bottle job answer, but I hope the summary helps a little bit. If Haaland's out, then it's an obvious, yeah, sure, go for it. Michael Lowe says, hi James, do you reckon Richarlison sticks as a 9 now? Or will he and Son switch depending on opponent? Yeah, it's that. I spoke about this Monday as well. I spoke about it on our Patreon podcast yesterday, that I thought we might see multiple Tottenham players actually moving in terms of positions. So Kulusevski with Lo Celso out tonight, that's a definitive, you know, he's going to play in the central area. But it's not even impossible. He ended up with something like Son left, Richarlison right, and Johnson through the middle at certain stages. That might even be something that happens. I don't think so, but it could be. Yes, Richarlison and Son could switch. Absolutely. And it gives Tottenham a little bit of a different avenue during games where perhaps something's struggling. The bench isn't there to change it. Okay, can we change the personnel within game even as well? Yes. Do I think if Richarlison plays number 9 tonight? Yes, pretty confident. Beyond that, it might well change again. JP says, any tips on what to do with these congested fixtures on Sky? Yeah, not a lot, mate. Just be aware of the close proximity of games. For example, the 3-game Chelsea spell, beginning with Wolves, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday lunchtime. Good luck predicting the Chelsea outfield player who's going to start all 3 games, right? You just need an awareness, mate. And go for safer players. So people with respect, people like Bowen, Saka, these players who might get sold today by me. But they are going to play games, right? You know that. You absolutely know that. So perhaps a little bit safer at this time of year. Vish says, is Archer worth upgrading from -4? Just hold. I have Lascelles, Maguire, Trippier, Haaland, all doubts, not playing. Lascelles, I think would be fine, mate. You probably don't want to sell Trippier. You wouldn't have wanted to play Maguire this week anyway, so I'd probably kind of ignore all that. Is Archer worth upgrading from -4? Well, if you know where you're going, mate, yeah, potentially. So, Solanke, Watkins, there's a case even say Alvarez for the 1 week, maybe, if you definitively think he was going to play. But I wouldn't, as kind of said earlier, I wouldn't be going like Archer to Jimenez for a -4. Archer, is almost definitely going to play tomorrow. So, Dermot Whelan says, morning, James. Hope all is well. Would you go Haaland and Bumo to Solanke and Gordon from -4? Just do the midfielder transfer and start Adingra off my bench. Cheers. Adingra has played more minutes than we could have imagined. It's got to be a risk for the weekend. I'm not sure I'd want to buy Gordon at this moment. I don't know if there's an alternative you can consider there. Like Leon Bailey, I think will probably be okay for Villa. Cole Palmer is another you might already have. I don't know if I'd be buying Gordon as part of a -4. But that said, as already covered, if Haaland was out, Solanke's kind of worth it on his own, isn't he? Referee Rick says, good morning, James. Good morning, Referee Rick. Vish says, in terms of low value mids in FPL that popped off for a short period, which were you most surprised out of? Gundogan, Lingard, Almiron? All of them. All of them, to be honest. They were all big surprises when they happened, and I was slow to all of them. In fact, I don't think I ever got Almiron at all. The other 2 I did. Gundo I got just in time, and ended up captaining him against Tottenham, and he went off. Lingard, I carried with it for a while. It wasn't too long with him. Almiron, I don't think I went to at all, actually. I don't think. Sicilian FPL says, good morning, James. Is Sanchez confirmed out this week? you think I just start Turner and hope, or just make the move again to a new goalkeeper like Neto, Pickford? So I'll do it in short because I did it near the start. But unless he's out for a significant period, you probably want to hold on to that, right? So look, looking at Turner at home to Tottenham's not great. Bournemouth at home next week's okay. If Sanchez had a chance of being fit for Boxing Day, then he'd just leave that be and play Turner, mate. Good morning to Ryan Quinn. Says, morning, Mr. Linden, Poru, Doggy and Son, the best three Spurs. Or would you chuck Richie in there? Yeah, fifth, as covered on the Patreon pod this morning, fifth defender's been a headache for me this week. I knew Doggy is the best choice, but I also knew that there was a chance that I may want to look at Richie, and Richie's part of my kind of plan B strategy, subject to news later today. That I think works a little bit better for me. I'm also conscious that if I don't go down that route and I have a midfield issue next week, he might also be the player I want to buy. Also, double Tottenham defence, I don't think it's going to be very good for my mental health. So reluctantly, I'm going to let Destiny go, in the knowledge that I can go back there at his price, right? And the 4 yellows is also something for me I couldn't really afford to carry, I didn't think, at this moment. So might be once that's out of the way, and I would bet that he will be suspended for the end of this year because he goes into tackles and stuff. I would bet that I might come back to him. There's every chance, particularly once Sonny's gone. If Richarlison's in place, I'm like, wow, I'll go Destiny for a little bit here. That could well happen. Richard Saunders Irving says, morning gents, just me Richard, but good morning to you too. Ali Bismo says, hi James, which one of Cher, Shimikas or Gabriel would you bench this week? I'd probably Cher, actually, which might sound weird. Brighton have scored in every game so far. I've also conceded in every game though. Yeah, probably very reluctantly Cher. The fixtures would say Gabriel, I think. Shimikas would be first, I think, of those three. Hugh Nguyen says, do you think it's better to wildcard 19 or 20 given the template we have right now? I don't think there's a correct answer for that. They obviously put it out as an option in the People's Poll vote yesterday, and I'm sure we'll cover it again in a bit more detail once we've got more information on this week going into next. Remember, it's a Thursday deadline, by the way, next week, everyone. I think it depends how you set up with your team, right? Really, really does. So I don't think there'll be like a right or wrong 19 or 20. There'll be a what's right for you. The reason, obviously, 19 was more popular than 20 originally was the idea of triple captain Haaland in 20, which the double's obviously not going to happen in game week 20 now. That's almost at 99% certainty. So there's a case for waiting, but that waiting might mean that you go an extra week without Haaland, for example. Boxing Day could be one for rotation, which with information might be like useful for you. That said, waiting that extra week, there's a few teams maybe you target a little bit less. It's like it's the end of Newcastle's run, so how much investment you have in Newcastle, for example, could have a bearing in terms of what's better or what's not. In theory, you could wildcard in game week 20 and just go, right, Salah, Son out now. Just do it a week early. Take the big danger in that. But I guess if you're wildcarding in 20, you wouldn't go both. Whereas in wildcard 19, you probably would still go both for the 2 weeks. I think roll the transfer and then move both out afterwards when they go to AFCON and the Asia Cup, respectively. So it'd be pros and cons of doing it both way, my friend. And I think it'd be very much dependent on how you're set up. And it might be the definitive resolution on that might even be how much Newcastle ownership you've got. Because obviously they've got Forest at home in 19, Liverpool away 20. If you've got treble Newcastle, that's going to have an impact, I think. FPL Andy says, morning James, thoughts on selling Haaland to Salah? Jesus, did we do this the other way around last week? For a -8, if confirmed out, would buy Solanke and sell Martinelli. Otherwise, relying on Gordon to cover Haaland, thanks. If confirmed out, Andy, yeah, sure. Without confirmation, no. And people asked me the opposite last week, and I was like, I don't know, like Haaland would look best, but it wasn't like that Mo Salah was a bad option going into last week. So possibly a no, mate. Rob Hicks says, morning, mate. Pretty set on Haaland Solanke, but do want to make the move for Son. Would you sell Souček to leave with 8 strong attackers, or sell Bowen and keep Souček as the 12th man? I'd prefer the stronger kind of core of attackers over this period, Rob. I think it'll be useful. it would allow you to do things like maybe bench Bowen at Arsenal in game week 19 if you want to, for example, subject to what other players you've got. So look, I've been on that strategy for quite a while, and I think it served me quite well. Drick says, hey James, hope you're good. Would you do Gay to Porro from -4? Smash a like, guys. Well, first thing to say, do you think Tottenham keep a clean sheet tonight? And if the answer to that is not yes, then the answer is definitively no, really, isn't it? But again, it's certainly a change you want to make. And if you're looking ahead and you're going, shit, it would be -4 for me next week as well, then get it done, mate. My friend Shamil Galani says, morning pal, one dilemma, need to bench one Palmer, Bowen, Alvarez, Watkins, or Darwin Núñez. Based on my predictions this week, mate, with huge reluctance, I would actually say Ollie Watkins. I think. I don't think I could forgive myself leaving Palmer out of that fixture against Sheffield United. So with huge reluctance, probably Watkins. With Watkins or Bowen, well, I think Watkins. I wouldn't if I had Núñez, I don't think I could leave that out. Marwan Ajanahi says, buy Solanke and bench Haaland, or buy Pau Torres for cash and bench Haaland. So I think there's a fair chance Matty Cash might start this week. I've been speaking about this a lot in terms of the impact of Bailey having an impact on both Cash and Diaby. And if Bailey's unavailable, I think probably both start. It was also notable he was withdrawn fairly early last night while Ezri Konsa played the full game. So it wouldn't be a huge shot if Cash started. So just with that, I think with that situation, give yourself the extra week of information on the Villa guys. Yes, buy Solanke. I don't know about benching Haaland though. I think like if you're leaving him in the squad, leave him in the team. Because as mentioned earlier, 45 minutes of Haaland is going to be better than 90 minutes of many others. Palace are a broken team going there tomorrow. I've got so many problems. Justin Gooch says, do you think both Lascelles and Livramento start this weekend? Yes, but as mentioned earlier, I think there then becomes a very serious risk for either or both of them next week. Henriette says, hi James, no question, just wanted to say thanks for what you're doing. Hope you have a great weekend, both on and off the FPL pitch. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good one as well. Ali Bismo says, do you think going forward with AFCON and money we have lying around, is it better to have 3 playing strikers as opposed to 2 as many do right now? I mean, yeah, but we spoke about AFCON quite a bit yesterday, so refer back to yesterday's pod, but we didn't cover that specifically. But yeah, strength in depth at this time of year and over AFCON is going to be useful, of course. Jamie Shea says, morning James, bench 1 of Salah. So good, in that put him twice. Bowen, Son, Palmer, Darwin Núñez, Isak or Alvarez. Yeah, that's grim, mate. From that lot, Bowen, with reluctance. FPL Gold Galazzo says, good morning FPL, top advisor, have a smashing game. It's smash the like button, you flipping mugs. Yeah, guys, smashing a like would be hugely appreciated. It doesn't cost anything, just hit the FUB button on screen. And for those listening back on the audio, a nice little 5-star review would be a nice Christmas present for us, as would supporting us on Patreon, which you can do so at www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Jerry Dharma U says, hi James, would you do Anderson and Haaland to Pau Torres and Solanke from -4? -4 for Pau Torres, no. Bench defender Kabori and Baldock, and I suppose it matters, mate, who played Kabori of the two, I think. Who to prioritise between Dom and Ollie since I can get either? Well, I think Solanke this week and Watkins next week, therefore. Jerry Dharma uses, by the way, of Núñez second forward. Yeah, cool. Ilan Melchior says, hi James, would you go Gordon to Richarlison or Sterling? Have exact money for Sterling, bigger upside but suspension risk. Wouldn't sell Gordon, mate. Just leave that be, mate. Is honestly my take. You go Gordon to Sterling, Sterling blanks, gets booked, misses next week, and just reverse the transfer. Like, that's feasible, mate. I wouldn't. I'll just hold your nerve, I think, on that. Jerry Stapleton says, James, you need to get Haaland's cell number and stay a step ahead of the other content creators. I'm too busy for all that nonsense, mate. Good luck to the people tracking him and all that shit. And I've got ITK, like it's useful. Thank you, and all that. I ain't got time for it. Neither do I particularly want the pressure of the information either. Dan Robinson says, hi James, looking to sell. Great, mate. You've gone on to say again later, sell Martinelli, have Son, Salah, Gordon and Langer. 9 million in the bank after sale. Who would you go for? You've got Salah. Me right now, considering next week, I'd go Richarlison. I think so. And then come back for a Villa one next week. That would be my take. Dan says, hi James, I'm thinking triple captain Salah. What do you think? I think that opportunity could be a lot better later in the season. There's been the mentioned Burnley and Luton double game week in game week 24, possibly, should Liverpool make the Carabao Cup final. So look, let's put it this way. If Liverpool get to the Carabao Cup final, they will have a double game week at some point that involves Luton at home. So it's a no from me, mate. Sweet Blues says, come on James, Richarlison over Bowen on the no Haaland route as well, mate. Live a little. I might do. I'm also aware I bought Jared Bowen at 7.4. He's getting investment today. He might hit 7.8 tonight. And maybe these things shouldn't affect us, but that's me selling at 7.5 for a player who, when Salah and Son go to AFCON, is every chance I want to buy back. So that does have a little influence in the thinking. It's probably Haaland is going to make the decision now, because I'll need the little bit of saving there, because it's close. I am aware that I'm not in love with Bowen's fixtures, but it is 3 of the next 4 at home, and I know, many of his goals have been away from home. I don't like game week 19 could be a bit of an ugly one for me, I think, with how I set up or intend to set up, which is part where I'd kind of like to doing that wild card at that point anyway. And it might be that he gets sacrificed at that point and then brought back again. That's a possibility. That it might be that going for, say, like a Foden at that point, for example. Or maybe Richarlison if I don't now. So it's going to be close between the two of them. I'll be very honest with you, at the moment, Bowen is in. I think that's like considering outcome as well. That's like, if you're sitting after this week and Richarlison has done well and Bowen hasn't, and I want to make that move next week, if I do, like, cool, fine. If it goes the other way and I go Richarlison and he pisses me off, which he's very capable of doing, and Bowen has another good weekend and United have got loads of injuries going into next week, there's regret and I don't change it. So the Bowen end of that argument allows me to still change that further down the line should I want to. Tiffy Ferreira says, will Gordon play? By the way, I should clarify for that, just in case people go, but you went Richarlison, James. Yeah, there's a couple of options here where it might be that I need that bit of money to clarify that. And I'm allowed to change my mind also. Sweet Blue says, come on James, Richarlison, no, that's what we've done. Tiffy Ferreira says, will Gordon play? I'm not a doctor, mate. Should I remove Luis Diaz on free transfer to any mid like Son? No, I think yes to Gordon probably. Would I move Luis Diaz at this moment? No. Dan Robinson says, hi James, Litnessel Martinelli, that's what we've done. For Greendale says, hi mate, need to bench 2 of Elise, Barkley, Doku and Maguire. Who would you go for? I think you want to wind up, mate. Well, look, if Jeremy Doku isn't available for this week, then it doesn't matter. And if Harry Maguire isn't available for this week, then it doesn't matter. Multi-Live Evil says, Gordon to Tavernier if Haaland is fit. Like, I don't mind Tavernier as a shout, short term. Don't mind that at all. But again, if I owned Gordon, I think I'd just be playing him personally. Ethan Cobb says, hi James, would you do Haaland for Watkins and cash for Porro from -4? Again, probably not on the Porro move for the -4. I think that could be regretful even. Matty Cash, if he does start on Sun, he might be thinking, oh, clever clogs have kept him. Yeah, it could be, mate. Haaland to Watkins on the face of it, like if he's ruled out, I can't argue. CRS27, hi James, is Haaland to Solanke Alvarez worth it when I could just roll and play Diaby or Cash? I think, guys, I'm just going to skip anything here that's got Haaland in it, because I'd like to think that you've probably got the idea by now that, like, I'm not Pep Guardiola. I don't have the information. If it looks like he's going to be available, he's an obvious keep. if we don't have any information, then there's a strong case to sell because he's unavailable next week. And these guys like Watkins, Solanke, even Nunez, you want to punt Isak, you want to get Jimenez ready for next week. It's covered right near the start. Like, yes, cool. Be my guest. But I can't give you a definitive answer right now that's going to be out of date in a couple of hours. NGGG24. Hi, James. Sky question. So I'll cover this one. Managed to leave myself without a captain for Saturday after transferring Haaland to Romero last Sunday. Should I go Romero to Thiago Silva if he plays tomorrow? Yeah, there's every case for that. Particularly, obviously, if Romero got booked tonight, he'll be suspended for game week 18. Mr. Dyer says, what is the latest game week I can use my first wild card? It's game week 20, mate. Prior to deadline, obviously. Stavros says, greetings from sunny Cyprus, James. Thank you. Nikolai says, hi, James. Happy Friday, mate. Start 2 of Gordon, Darwin, Nunes, Watkins. It'll be the 2 forwards there, mate. Colin Johnston says, morning, James. If news on Haaland to Solanke -4 for Anderson to Pryor, no news hold. Yeah, as covered, mate. Yes, Nikolai, thank you. All well here, mate. I hope you are too. Tiffy Ferreira says, I hate managers like Eddie Howe, Moyes for not giving team news properly. I like Unai Emery. Unai Emery hasn't told me if Leon Bailey's available this weekend or not, mate, so that's useless as well. Eddie says, what would be your favourite Spurs lineup of those you've seen? Mine would be Eric the Viking, Benny Asuakotu, Leddy King, Mabsy, Stevie Carr, Hoddle, Gazza, Ginola, Bale, Sonny, Harry, but bloody hard to choose. Yeah, it's hard to choose, but I'll tell you it, mate. So Hugo in goal, Carl Walker, Toby Alderweireld, Ledley King. We'll shove Super Yan in at left back because we can. Modric, Dembele, Paul Gascoigne, and the same front three as you, Bale, Sonny, and Harry. MRCX says, hi Jimbo, hope you're doing well. Would you rather get Gordon, Trippier or Bailey for game week 18 with wildcard in 19? Leon Bailey, mate, if I think he would start next week. Yeah. Keith Rowley says, morning Bosch, just popping in to wish you well this weekend. Thank you, Keith, to you too. Haley Beck says, hi James, hope all is well. Is Jackson worth a punt? Not for me. We think Nkunku's going to be in the squad tomorrow. We don't have that definitively yet. But it could be that Nkunku nicks his place as early as next week. So not for me. Like if you're 1 week punt or your wild card in 19, for example, I don't mind it so much. Otherwise, no, not for me. Dirk says, coming to the world famous City Ground tonight, mate. Nah, I did it twice last season. One was successful, one wasn't. I'm not going to be able to tonight because the work commitments now and stuff. So it's a no. Dan says, hi mate, how come you're not feeling the same way towards Chelsea as you very quickly identified with Rashford despite good fixtures form, not good enough, etc. Not sure I follow the question here, Dan, in terms of like identifying, which we mean identifying that they're shit like I identified with Rashford. I mean, at the moment there's no Chelsea going with me in the wild card despite the fact that they've got an amazing set of fixtures, so I'm not sure I follow the question here, Dan. Sorry, I might be misunderstanding that. Apologies. MRCX says, reckon Robert Sanchez and Martinelli going to start. Martinelli had illness in a week, so I would have thought so. Sanchez, not a doctor, mate, but if a goalkeeper comes off with minutes remaining, then he's going to be highly unlikely, isn't he? As per Sam Johnson's obviously not going to be available for Palace, we don't think, this weekend. So it's probably going to be a no, isn't it? But let's see what Poch says. In fairness, Chelsea have been pretty honest about their injury news this season. LFCBSFC says start Isak or Hwang. I'd certainly be starting Isak, personally. Dave 2 says 160 in the chat and 15 likes is pitiful. Like the stream, folks. There's a lot more than that now, in fairness, but thank you, Dave. Frederick Hertz says, do we captain Haaland if we stay with him? Or do we risk a 20-minute cameo? Look, without definitive information or confidence, the smartest play this week is to captain Mo Salah, isn't it? I think there's a lot of people that may think that Salah's the better choice anyway, and that's probably the right call. Unless there's something today that gives us real confidence to think, oh my God, he plays. And then, yeah, I'll be sitting there thinking, I want to take advantage of these people who are sold. And then I'm behind Salah on the EO and he probably goes off and kills me anyway. So the sensible answer at the time of recording is Salah, isn't it? Michael Scott has played Livramento or Gabriel. I think just about Livramento on that one. I think is certain, and he'll play obviously in his favoured position of right back this week as well. Jonathan Nyman says, best in the business, James. Thank you. Says, hold Diaby or buy Richarlison. It's probably a hold. I don't think Unai Emery's got anything scheduled today, so I don't think you're going to get any more information on that. If he's benchable this week, I'd be really keen to wait and roll under that circumstance, Jonathan. Eddie says, not remotely a priority, obviously, but do you think Kirkez would be good signing as the alternative in squad to Destiny? Seems like Sessegnon will always be injured and Davis solid, but not much more. He's very young, Eddie. He's doing fine at Bournemouth. He's got an opportunity now as well with Lloyd Kelly's injury. Has meant he should get a successful run of games now. The thing is, Eddie, can Milos Kerkez play as a number 10? I don't know. I don't know the honest answer to that, mate. In terms of speed and attributes, etc., yeah, he's got that side of it. But is he all right going into midfield? Because that's more important than actually just covering at left back with the way we play, right? So, and that'll be up to Ange to judge. I just trust his judgment to go and get whoever he thinks is best, mate. Yes, we need something to cover there, but if Destiny stays fit, we're okay there, mate. Karim says, would you do Isak to Solanke for -4? No. Ethan Justin says, morning, mate. Do you think of Kirkez as an asset? At the moment, he's coming with me on wildcard as it stands. But it's the decision I'm not very happy with, I must confess. Also, would you start Archer or Mitoma this week? It's Mitoma. Favour Archer currently due to having Gabriel and fancy Sheffield United to get something. Cheers. Well, if that's how you feel, then fine. But for the question to me, Mitoma, mate. Paul Kit says, Kabore Toporo, Haaland Solanke for -4 is what I'm thinking. List the bench. Yeah, it's kind of as covered before. James Brennan says, hi James, that's another kind of -4 involving Haaland. Lee Sherwood says, sorry if I asked, but I'm not around for the deadline stream. Need to bench one of Cash, Shimikas, Gabriel. Cash, I think, mate, from that. Frederick Hurt says, start Bailey or Martinelli. I'd start Martinelli with the fixtures this week, yeah. Parag says, already done James to Porro. Currently think my problems are Gay, Haaland, Gordon, who is priority out. Well, it's up to the Norwegian, isn't it? It's genuinely. And the thing is as well, I don't even think this is necessarily science with Haaland, right? It's half how you feel. The FOMO of leaving him in, the FOMO of not having him when he plays tomorrow, right? It's probably like an inward feel in terms of, this might come down to gut decision making, right? And gut decision making is probably going to be lastminute.com. I referenced Lynn FPL, right? Lynn tweeted this a few months ago. And, it sounds obvious, but it's true, right? Get yourself a coin and flip it in the air. And while it's in the air, you'll probably know how you want it to land. Reality. And with Haaland, when there's so much emotion attached and it can obviously go so right or so wrong, definitive on information that we may not have, yeah, maybe go with what's in the heart a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. J23 says, worth taking a -8 to get a full playing 11. Currently, James needs to go. Taylor suspended. Areola Turner combo. Haaland and Trossard. Well, Trossard will highly likely get minutes. You've got a goalkeeper there. You've got two goalkeepers, in fact, so that's fine. Reece James, that's sad, man. He's got to go, hasn't he? He's got to go. I notice he's only yellow flags on FPL at the moment. I can assure you that'll be a red flag by the end of the day. Elron Cupboard says, what are your thoughts on Richarlison? Would be sending Diaby from it. Kind of covered that off, so I'm going to skip. Thank you, mate. N says, hi, James. Question here. Would you prefer to play double Newcastle defence this week or double Arsenal? Hope you're doing the double Arsenal, actually, probably. Homegrown FPL, leave out one of Lascelles, Shimikas or Diaby. Probably Diaby with a bit of reluctance. Dragon says, got Porro, Gabriel, Cash and Gay in defence. Move Gay to 4.5 defender. Question who, or just save and have 2 FTs next week. Cheers. So you've got Porro. Who's your other defender? I'm going to guess it's someone shit. Or it's Trippier. Could be Trippier, the other one, couldn't it? If it's Trippier, then you're only really worried about this week. Kirkes, I think, is a shout. And I prefer that one. I know Senesar's been scoring, but he's on 4 yellows. That probably won't continue. Zabani's a really good player, very highly rated. This club's beginning to look at him now. But it's a bit boring for FPL. Kirkes is a little bit more risk, but a little bit vavavoom potentially about it as well. So Kirkes. Dave Lister, play Livermore or Colwell. I mean, if you've got Colwell, you play this week, don't you? We've got a chance it. And you're very welcome, Dave. No problem. Tendai H says, hi, James. Hope you're good, mate. I've kept faith in Son since before Maddison's injury. Not owned Palmer or Gordon ever. That sounds a little bit like me. I'm actually thinking Kulusevski is due a haul. I'm thinking of bringing him in this week. I couldn't justify picking him over Richarlison at this moment, mate, with where Richarlison's probably going to play tonight. Jack Roch says, hello, James. Happy birthday, mate. Let's not do that again, but thank you. What would you do with Gibbs White and best replacement for 7.5 and under? I'd be very tempted by Richarlison. Just know when you sell one player in one team who's playing the other team the same day, yeah, that could bite. But that probably is where I'd go at the moment. Otherwise, like if I knew Leon Bailey was going to play, I'd say that. But it feels more like let's come back for that next week, maybe for most people, I think. Right, it's 12:20, so I'm just going to cover this one more from Ruben Villa. It says, hello, James. Would you take out Maguire for Pau Torres from -4 or take Pinnock out for Porro from -4? I currently have Gordon and Haaland as doubts. Thoughts? Again, can these be made for free next week? That's all. Pinnock this week's okay. It's not great. Maguire's obviously shite, but a -4 to Pau Torres doesn't feel great. Are you going to need to make both these moves next week? If so, I'd probably prioritise just getting Pedro in now, taking the extra Villa information, and then making sure Torres is the one you want next week. So it might be that it's back to Matty Cash. Is not impossible. Thanks very much for everyone who's contributing in the chat. Sorry I didn't get through all the questions there. There's obviously a lot of Haaland stuff, which is perfectly understandable at the moment. Pep Guardiola's press conference, as a reminder, he's scheduled to start at 12:30. Obviously on the deadline stream, which should be exclusive on this YouTube channel tonight at 5:30. If there's any information during the course of the stream, I'll bring it to you. I can only clarify and tell you my words that as someone that is on wildcard. If there is no clarity, he won't be in my wildcard. If I think he's going to play, he will be. I think this is a decision that needs to be left late. But I would also say don't leave it to 2 minutes before the deadline, because there may well be some panic, and do not be surprised if the website crashes. Give yourself 10 minutes or so at least tonight. Remember, it is a 6:30 p.m. UK deadline. A reminder as well for Advanced Intermediate Plus tier patrons, Team News stream will be at 4 p.m. UK time today as well, with all the team news up to date and predicted lineups as well. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. I'll be very honest, I don't know the full schedule for next week as yet. I've not had too much time to think about it. But I can say, obviously, it'll be the Game Week Review podcast Monday, Tuesday, Clash of Correspondents, Tottenham versus Everton, with Ricky Saunders and Sean Norton ahead of the Game Week 18 blank week encounter. And obviously, we'll have our Sky podcast on Wednesday. But if you're live on the chat, smash your like, and for the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please, man child.